comic.boom here to celebrate my top 35 comic book picks for 2017. I've spent a lot of time putting this together. That's not entirely true. I actually spent most of my time just thinking about what the top 35 are going to be. This has been an absolutely insane year for fantastic comic books, with the notable exception that not a heck of a lot of them are Marvel comics. Marvel has had a particularly bad year, despite the fact that I enjoyed Secret Empire. I enjoyed the journey of it. Only one particular issue that was related to Secret Empire made my top 35 list, and we'll get to that. But notwithstanding the problems of Comicsgate and the fact that Marvel Comics was pretty much a disaster for a year for that particular company, the fact is DC Comics has been hitting it out of the park. The independent lines have been really hitting up the charts. Valiant has been incredible. Dynamite, IDW. I've got a surprising variety, which surprised even me in my top 35. Let's not forget that comic books are subjective, and these are my personal choices that I happen to enjoy for different reasons, which I'll get into. So without further ado, let's get to the list. At number 35 on the list is Robert Kirkman's Invincible. Now, going into December here, I believe the final issue of Invincible is going to come out in January, but this came out in December. It's this was part 10 of, I think part 11 of 12 came out in December in this month. But in any event, Robert Kirkman is wrapping up his series Invincible. He's always bragged about it being sort of like the best superhero comic book out there, and in so many ways it really was. Sorry, my daughter's in the background. She's having a lot of fun. But in any event, Invincible is wrapping up. This is actually a story that has an ending. Robert Kirkman always said he wanted to wrap it up. He's out. It always bothered him that various superhero stories don't have endings. He wanted to do something with Invincible. And let's face it, Robert Kirkman, he's always been that type of guy. He does a fantastic comic book series, Walking Dead. That series is fantastic. He's always trying new things there. I'm sorry, my daughter's really distracting in the background. I don't know why she's so joyful. I'm the one who's drinking. But anyway, guys, Invincible's going to end in early 2018, and what a fantastic run. Congrats to Robert Kirkman. The adventures of Invincible have been a joy to read over the 10 years I've read it. Maybe longer, good lord, but I got every issue. It's fantastic. Pick up the trades. Pretty much any trade, you're going to be thoroughly entertained. Pick it up. And it actually deals with male rape. You know, can you believe that? And the woman who rapes him ends up having his kid. Spoiler warning. But yet written in actually a fairly entertaining fashion, if you can believe that. SJWism done right? Anyways, guys, check out Invincible. At number 34 is Doomsday Clock. Now, if you're wondering why I didn't put Doomsday Clock further up on the list, number one, it's got stiff competition. Number two, it's only the first issue. Actually, the second issue comes out today when I'm doing this. It's the 27th. Second issue of Doomsday Clock comes out today. I haven't read that yet, but it's too early. I felt it was too early to make a judgment and say that this is in my top 10 list, because it's not. And I just want to make clear that this is a really great series. Issue 1 is fantastic. I have no doubt that this is going to be on my top 10 list for 2018. But for now, Jeff Johns is just going to have to settle for being in number 34, which is pretty darn good when you consider that there's a stiff competition this year. So check out Doomsday Clock with the Watchmen infiltrating the DC universe. Or is it the DC universe infiltrating the Watchmen universe? I think it's a little bit of both. Check it out. Number 34 is Wonder Woman. In particular, my favorite issue of Wonder Woman is issue 25, called Perfect. And it ends with her finally bedding Steve Trevor. She finally gets a little action after so long. I did extensive reviews of Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman. You guys can look at the videos. It was somewhat hit and miss with me. I think that overall, it was Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman run, which got absolutely rave reviews. I do think that the reviews I do believe it was somewhat overrated, but still good enough to make my top 35 list. And again, at number 33, Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman, it is pretty good. It sort of redefines or sort of brings Wonder Woman back to her sort of pre-New 52 roots, going back to more of a George Perez style, making her a little bit more godlike, a little bit more Avatar-like. dispenses with the dark version that Azarello had in the New 52, which wasn't my cup of tea, but it was still entertaining. I got to give him props. So that's at number 33. Number 32 was a surprise to me, and it was Vampirella. Now, Vampirella, particularly starting with issue, it was actually starting with issue 8, written by Jeremy Whitley. Now, what's astonishing to me that this has even made my list was that Jeremy Whitley actually wrote The Wasp for Marvel, which, if like Nadia Wasp, young Nadia Wasp, he wrote 8 issues, the 8-issue series of The Wasp for Marvel, and it's a very, very different type of comic book to Vampirella. He has Vampirella here exploring her hidden feelings toward a woman. So she's engaging in a same-sex relationship in his arc. Yet it's very well written, and that's not the point of the arc. It's at all. It's action-packed. It's fun. It's funny. It's well worth the read. I think Jeremy Whitley's doing a good job here, and he's really having Vampirella explore her feelings, because I think everyone knows that Vampirella is bisexual, but sort of for the first time really exploring a meaningful long-term relationship with another character. It's actually very well good, so check out Vampirella. All right, at number 31 comes in The Flintstones. Now, The Flintstones, it began last year and it ended in 2017. It was a 12-issue maxi series. Very good. I gotta say, Mr. Russell did a fantastic job. Art by Pugh. I forget Pug's first name. Anyways, this is a great series. It was sort of a commentary on our modern day times from a Stone Age from the Flintstones perspective. It was always funny. It was always poking fun at not only the Flintstones but also poking fun at our own society. In particular, the origins of God, how the origins of God came about, is particularly funny and just in keeping with the Flintstones mythology. So definitely was well worth a read, and you should pick it up in hardcover or trade form if you can find it. Number 30, Secret Weapons. The Valiant universe, Valiant, continues to impress the heck out of me. For $3.99, the issues here, and this isn't the only Valiant on my list. I've got not only the Secret Weapons, but I also got Exo Man of War is also going to be on that list. But there's also a Bloodsport, and there was a couple other ones that were really, really good, but didn't quite make the list of top 35. Secret Weapons is good. This is the way. I've never been into X-Men, but this is Secret Weapons was almost like it's like an interesting X-Men tale. So if you weren't, almost very few people were collecting X-Men this year, I think, comparatively speaking, because Marvel has just done a horrible job with that entire franchise. But Secret Weapons is X-Men done right. And it's interesting because these are about characters that are essentially it's sort of like they're mutants, but they have ridiculously boring powers. One has the power to talk to birds, one has the power to change into stone, the other one has the powers to integrate into computer programs. Innocuous powers, and yet they have to come together and they're being hunted. And it might sound like a little somewhat cliche, but it's part of a larger story arc, and Valiant is really doing a great job building up their universe, and everything is connected. It's really worth checking out. All right, number 29, Batman White Knights. The reason why this could be higher, but I couldn't make it higher because it's too early to tell. Right now, I find with Batman White Knights, quite frankly, I find while it's a good concept, I don't know if it's gonna pay any dividends. Right now, what I find kind of interesting is a lot of people are loving this series and yet continue to mischaracterize what the story is actually about in their reviews and online. This isn't about the Joker becoming good necessarily, and it's not about the Batman becoming bad. What it is actually about, if you read the story, is that it's about the Joker seemingly becoming sane, but the jury's still out on that. And Batman becoming bad? No, Batman's not bad, at least not yet. And I'm in issue 4 already. Or 3 anyway, and Batman is not bad. He's just getting bad PR because of Jack Napier, because of the Joker. It's very good. It's interesting how the reinterpretation that Sean Murphy and Sean Murphy is doing in the Batman mythology, particularly Harley Quinn and the rest of the Batman's Rogues Gallery. So it's definitely worth checking out. That's the number 29 on my list. Number 28 on my list was Green Arrow, in particular issue 28 of Green Arrow. This was a single issue one-shot, but this is actually SJW isn't done right. This is I never was a big fan of Green Arrow because he was always too liberal, quite frankly. But one of the great things about this particular issue is this was him being a social justice warrior with Superman. And this is actually a really good issue. He protects Lex Luthor against basically domestic terrorism, while at the same time being a do-gooder and actually doing something, somewhat political, yet it wasn't thrown in your face. This was a really good issue. It's a one-shot. It was good enough to make the list because it was just that good. I gotta say that Benjamin Percy did a really good job did a great job on Green Arrow for the issues he wrote in 2017. It's worth checking out. Issue 20, my number 27 on my list is issue 174 of The Walking Dead. This is once again a one-shot. Any fan of Negan or Maggie or that group should pick this up. This is a landmark issue in my mind. This is such a character-building issue because Negan finally comes to terms with himself, and he finally is able to let go of Lucille. His psychological need to have Lucille, because he lost Lucille in the previous issue. It was destroyed. It was shattered in his battle against. Well, I won't spoil all of it, but let's just say he lost Lucille, and he has an opportunity to get Lucille reborn again, another bat with barbed wire wrapped around it. But he has a number of experiences in this issue that really make him realize he's got to let that go. And let go of it he does. But just a fantastic issue. Robert Kirkman is hitting it out of the park. Check out Walking Dead 174. All right, so number 26 on my list is from IDW Star Trek. This is the Mirror Universe saga, or the Mirror Broken. I've always loved the Mirror Universe. I find it more interesting than the mainstream Star Trek universe. I wish that Paramount Studios or the powers that be, 20th Century Fox, whoever makes Star Trek movies, I wish that they would do a Mirror Broken series or a movie, or do a Star Trek Mirror Universe movie. I think it would be awesome. I think it would be epic. I think it would be outside the box, and I think it could really create a series where we could have one movie taking place in our universe with the good side of Captain Kirk and crew, and then the Mirror Universe of the bad Kirk. And you could have a trilogy of it. It could be fantastic. Now this one involves the Generation crew, but it's really good stuff. You got to check it out. And it's 5 issues long, and it's just epic. I mean, the darker version of these characters always seems to be a little bit more interesting than the standard good guy version. Something about the dark side of the force, huh? All right, number 25 on the list, Red Sonia. Now, this has impressed me. Amy Chu, great female writer. I think she's been doing very well. She's been getting her hands wet in different titles over the last year, and she continues to do so going into 2018. I like her take on Red Sonia. She brings Red Sonia to the present. Now, that's a plot line that's not necessarily original or new, but she makes it very interesting that Red Sonia gets sort of trapped in modern day New York City, and even though it has some common tropes and all the stuff you would expect in a way, it was just fun. And one of the things that for the most part Dynamite has always done wrong with Red Sonia, and every story seems to be the same, and it feels the same over and over and over again. This is the first time in literally 5-6 years where I felt Red Sonia was actually doing something a little bit different. Getting her out of her comfort zone, getting her into a different time, just rocking things up. They're still screwing up the covers. They still need to do something a little bit more. I mean, this is a pretty attractive looking cover, but Dynamite still has to do something different about I don't know. Their covers all seem to be the same, retreading the same thing. They still got to work on their covers. DC's hitting out of the park with their covers. Marvel's revamp of their covers for Legacy look fantastic. DC and Marvel covers right now look fantastic. The rest of the comic book world has to start taking note and start making some changes in my mind. In any event, the next one on the list, number 24 on the list, is Maestro. This is an independent title by Steve Scrossi, Dave Stewart, and Phonographics. This is a great story. This is a great, this just came out. This is a great story about basically sort of a bum who's living in our world, who actually is the son of a powerful wizard in another world, and and his father ends up being killed, and he's called back to his world to sort of take over. And it's just, it's very adult, very R-rated, pornographic in parts, a lot of swearing, but funny, fun, great read. I'll leave it at that. Check out Maestro, and the art is absolutely fantastic, and you got to check out Maestro from Image Universe. All right, so now number 23 is Nightwing, A New Order. Now, one of the standouts of Nightwing, A New Order, the reason why this stands out is that this is, in many people's mind, and I'm not the first person to say this, this is this Secret Empire done right. Now, those of you who've watched some of my videos know that I actually love Secret Empire. I enjoyed the journey of Secret Empire, despite the fact that Secret Empire never made my list. The simple fact is that I enjoyed Secret Empire. I enjoy reviewing it. I enjoy reading it. But it was very bloated, and it crossed over, and it was typical Marvel. Marvel takes a good thing and they bloat the hell out of it, and they ruined a perfectly good concept with Secret Empire, I think, by bloating it, adding too much crap to it. Nightwing New Order it takes place in an alternate universe, and it's in a fascist world where Nightwing, Dick Grayson, is sort of taken over, or he was instrumental in taking away and regulating and taking away the metagene, which created superheroes, and he depowers all of the superheroes on the planet, and he was sort of the head of creating a regime where it's illegal to be a superhero. It's illegal to have superpowers. And this is, what's great about this is that it's in the future, and he ends up with him and Starfire, who he's broken up with Starfire, but him and Starfire have a son, and his son ends up having superpowers. And of course, his son is going to end up putting in the equivalent of a concentration camp, and he doesn't want that. But he was instrumental in creating this new dystopian future, and yet now when he has a change of heart, when his own son develops the very superpowers that he was trying to eliminate from the planet to begin with. Great story. It's not over yet, but check it out, Nightwing New Order. All right, number 22 on the list is Super Sons. Now, I love, something about Damian Wayne. Damian Wayne is a great Batman character, is the best addition to the Batman family in decades, and Jonathan Kent. Wow, what a fantastic series. DC is doing it right. With Rebirth, DC has gone back to their conservative roots, which if you look at my video review of the book Slugfest, that's really DC going back to the traditional family values, storytelling. But they're not shying away from relationships anymore. Superman's married to Lois Lane. Batman is proposed as Batman and Catwoman are now engaged. We have the date night issues of Batman. We've got the family, Batman and Damian. We got Damian Wayne and Jonathan Kent, the sons of Batman and Superman together in Super Sons. This is funny. This is a great comic book. It's just a wonderful breath of fresh air. Every issue just seems to hit it out of the park. Kudos to the creative team, which is Tomasi, Lewis, Hannah, and Hi-Fi. Good job. Number 21 on the list, I have to say, is Aquaman. Now, Aquaman is, I gotta say, the art's fantastic. Abnett and Sejic is the artist. Sejic is also known for doing a very adult independent title called Sunstone, which is a very adult provocative title, but his work on Aquaman here has been fantastic. Aquaman, Mira is getting a change of, Mira is particularly well written. Aquaman, his, just, what's going on in the pages of Aquaman is, it's just, the world is really opening up. This is far better than Jeff Johns' take on the character. Jeff Johns, I was not a fan of Jeff Johns' Aquaman in the New 52. This is substantially better than even Jeff Johns' run on the title, guys. Check it out. All right, so I got number 20 is DK3. I thoroughly enjoyed DK3. Frank Miller's The Dark Knight 3. I loved his version of Wonder Woman in particular. Man, with a revitalized Batman who gains his youth and vitality again through the Lazarus pit, helping Batman defeat Kryptonians who invade the Earth. It's called Master Race. This was delayed like you wouldn't believe, but I thought it thoroughly entertaining. This was Frank Miller, who fortunately had the help of Brian Azzarello to really nail the story down despite Frank Miller's poor health. This is a really great series, and it's good enough to make number 20 on my for 2017. Number 19 on the list is Red Hood and the Outlaws. I gotta say, Scott Lobdell did I thought a terrible job in the New 52 with Red Hood, and he bastardized Starfire, made her into a whore in the New 52. I didn't do a particularly good job, but for whatever reason, I don't know what Scott Lobdell's done differently, but Red Hood and the Outlaws is funny. Putting Bizarro, Artemis, and Red Hood together was really an inspired idea. This is a fun comic. It's hilarious. They've got the interactions are his relationship with Bizarro juxtaposed against his relationship to Artemis, and then the way Artemis, this sort of lost Amazon and misguided Amazon, the way she's fitting in. This is just a great comic. You got to check it out. Every issue seems to have a different take on it. Scott Lobdell just continues to do a great job. Number 18 on my list, I got to say, is Generations Captain America. This is, in my view, one of the best one-shots of all of 2017. There's probably about 5 or 6 one-shots, that is done-in-one stories that are on my list. This is one of them. This was a Captain America story that basically this came out after Secret Empire, but it's basically Sam Wilson basically living his life. Kobik allows him to live his life till when he's an old man. Sam Wilson, Captain America, gets transported back into World War II, and then he literally lives his whole life up to the present day, where he meets Steve Rogers again in the present day, and he's sort of passing the legacy, passing the torch on to Steve Rogers almost, even though Steve Rogers was the first Captain America. Meanwhile, it's a wonderfully told story by Nick Spencer. Makes you really appreciate just how important a symbol Captain America is, and that it really the message that Nick Spencer was failed to get adequately across with Secret Empire, he nails in this Generations one-shot. Check it out. Number 17 on my list is Crosswinds. This is sort of like a Freaky Friday version done by Gail Simone. This is really good. This imagine if a hitman for the mob and a disgruntled, sexually screwed up housewife switch minds at the most inopportune times, and then you have this comedy of Crosswind. Gail Simone, right back to when she was in her Deadpool days, she was always good at writing comedy, and she really hits it out of the park here. And the artist on this series is Staggs, is absolutely fantastic. The art here is just incredible. You really got to check out Crosswind, guys. If you can pick it up and trade, do so. Crosswind is fantastic. Check it out. Probably the most underrated artist ever is got to be this Stewart guy, Jeff Darrow, story, art, and cover. The Shaylen Cowboy, Who'll Stop the Rain. Incredible art. I mean, nothing like a Buddhist monk fighting a pig, literally fighting a pig who's possessed by an old Shaylen master. This is a crazy series, but the art is fantastic. It must have taken him years to draw some of these pages, but the blood and the gore and the detail in the art, Shaylen Cowboy, just fantastic. Number 15 on the list is Lazarus. Lazarus, written by Greg Rucka. Greg Rucka is one of the few few writers on my list who made it twice. He made it with Wonder Woman, and he makes it again in number 15 with Lazarus. X66, this is a mini-series, although the main series is good too. But this tells the story of one of the main characters in Lazarus and her backstory, and it's really good. And Michael Lark, I mean, his art's just absolutely incredible. If it's one thing, Greg Rucka proves it time and time again that he seems to have a talent for writing female characters. I've said this before. I wish his Wonder Woman was as well written as his Lazarus is, but unfortunately, something about writers when they go to write Wonder Woman, they're always infected by this idea that you got to make her as this prissy do-gooder and without any flaws. And his Wonder Woman doesn't possess enough flaws to be interesting as she could be with me. Although interesting enough to make my list. But in any event, check Lazarus out. X plus 66. All right, so number 14 now. Green Valley, Max Landis. This was I love this series. This was basically a series of it started off. It all began with one mistake. That's on the very first issue, right on the cover. It all began with one mistake, and what that one mistake was is that this takes place in the days of old, of knights in shining armor, and we're introduced to a group of knights who, unfortunately, one of them falls asleep on his watch, and their world is turned upside down. They're invaded, and their home is destroyed. And all of a sudden, there's a time traveler that shows up, and we have time travel, and we got dinosaurs, and we got all kinds of crazy things creeping in. And only from the crazy mind of Max Landis. You got to check this out. I think this was a 6. I think this was this a 7 or 8 issue series? I only took the first issue of all these things, but Green Valley, Max Landis. I loved his American, I think his American Superman, whatever the hell it was called there. Anyways, but this is really good. Check out Green Valley. All right, so number 13 on my list is Metal. Batman, the Man Who Laughs. Anything Batman Metal. It's not higher on my list because I don't know. I just found that there was a lot that was better, but it's still a lot of fun. Batman, that dark and crazy universe where, good lord, where we got all the different versions of Batman, the Flash version, the Cyborg version, all the names. I'll have them up there on the screen for you. Scott Snyder's really created a dark world, and basically, we have the multiverse, and the flip side and the dark side of the multiverse is the dark multiverse, which is, for 2018, we're going to get a lot more series that are going to be flowing out of the dark universe. And of course, probably one of the most horrific villains yet out of the Batman mythology, the Batman Who Laughs. Imagine if Batman killed the Joker and in doing so became his worst nightmare. Wow. Check out Metal, guys. I included all of that. I didn't want to break up Metal. The entire series of Metal is fantastic. All of that is at number 13 on my list. All right, number 12 on my list is another single issue one-shot, which I thought was really good, and that's Motor Girl. Terry Moore's Motor Girl. Now, this is the final issue. It's only 10 issues long. I would encourage you to get the whole series. But what makes this series interesting is, when it first came out, I thought it was rather, I didn't think it was that interesting, because here we have this girl mechanic in the middle of the desert who's got a gorilla sidekick gorilla sidekick that helps her do her mechanical work. And all of a sudden aliens show up, and she ends up being a mechanic helping out aliens. And it's the strangest thing in the middle of the desert. But what makes the story great by issue 10 is issue 10 completely turns everything on its head, because it completely redefines what actually happened in the first 9 issues. And yet, incredibly, you don't need to read the first 9 issues to appreciate this. But let's just say that in her post-traumatic stress world, all the crazy and zaniness things that have happened is explained in issue 10. It's one of the best issues of 2017. Fantastic. Terry Moore hit it out of the park. One of the best endings to a series I've ever read. It's that good. Check it out. All right, number 11. Sacred Creatures. Wow, this is a really good series. This is probably one of the best drawn I've ever seen by Raymond, by Jansen, or written by Pablo Raimondi and Klaus Janson, and art by Klaus Janson, colors by Dean White. I mean, this is just incredible. In fact, one of Klaus Janson's probably greatest artistic works. Most of the time when I think of Klaus Janson, I think of him working with Frank Miller, but this is incredible. I mean, and this is about basically a group of very old mythological. Well, let's just say you've got 7 deadly sins, a guardian, and you got some humans all mixed up. And imagine if all the 7 deadly sins of envy, gluttony, pride, sloth, greed, lust, and wrath were all embodied in human form, and that they've been around for thousands of years, and something happens that gives them a little bit more power and influence, but they need to be stopped. And meanwhile, you got some humans all mixed up with it, and that's what you got, Sacred Creatures. This is a fantastic series. It's so well written, and it's not over yet. I'm not even sure if it's a regular series or if it's going to go on, but whatever it is, I want to continue reading this in 2018. Sacred Creatures, Image Comics. Check it out, guys. All right, and at number 10 on my list, we're now down to the top 10 for Comic Boom. Number 10 is James Bond. I got to say that Dynamite, they're James Bond stories by Dynamite. I mean, we got Kieran Gillen here, wrote this particular issue of James Bond called Service. There's all kinds of great writers that seem to be taking their turns writing James Bond stories. I think Dynamite really played it right here. You just can't go wrong. Not only that, they have individual one-shot issues, like they had one for Moneypenny. They had another series with one of his Felix. What's his name? Felix. I forget, but the CIA operative that who works with called Felix that worked with James Bond. He had his own one-shot too. Anyways, this is a great series. You got to check it out. All right, number 9 on my list is Deathstroke. I can't believe Christopher Priest is doing a really good job. You've got Power Girl, you've got Wally West Flash, and you've got the screwed up family dynamics of Deathstroke's daughter and his son, and you've also got Terra from remember Terra of the old Teen Titans in the 80s, all on one team. Deathstroke Defiance. This is an absolutely fantastic series. Throws it on its head. Deathstroke's really been put through the ringers here. This is really probably one of the most exciting series that DC Comics put out in 2017. Fantastic. Number 8, Daredevil. Charles Soule in Daredevil. One of the few times Marvel is making this list, because they just had there wasn't a lot by Marvel that was particularly great this year by any stretch. I mean, there was some good stuff, but not good enough to make my list anyway. Daredevil, though, Charles Soule, he did an arc called Supreme that I reviewed, where it's now legal for Matthew Murdock was successful in making it legal for superheroes to testify under oath against criminals without having to take off their masks and reveal their secret identity. He got an exception to the 14th Amendment of the United States Constitution. Wow. And he pissed off Wilson Fisk enough that following Secret Empire, Wilson Fisk has run for mayor, and the current run is now Mayor Fisk. And Mayor Fisk now is hiring Matthew Murdock to work under him. So, wow. Charles Soule, a lot of creativity there. He's really making it his own. Fantastic series. Check it out. Number 7 on the list, I got to credit to Spike Valentine. I said before that there's lots of stories that I just don't get around to reading. And, well, thank you for Spike Valentine for getting me onto Ladykiller. This is, wow, written by Joelle Jones, artist by Michelle Madsen. The art is absolutely gorgeous. You know, this isn't just a typical, woman psychopath here. She's actually, this is actually a heck of a great story. This is me just reading just the second trade. I never read the first trade. The second one, I have to go buy the first one. But this is well worth the read. I mean, she's this sexy, gorgeous killer who and it's well written. Just the plot lines, the intrigue. This is really great stuff. Check out Ladykiller, guys. All right, number 6, Defenders. Brian Michael Bendis. Wow. The Defenders is one of the best Marvel comics I've read in easily the last 5 years. This is the way I wish all comic books were as fun as this. The art is fantastic, and Brian Bendis, in a rare moment, he actually combines the right amount of dialogue and action, because usually Brian Michael Bendis has too much dialogue, too many talking heads, and not enough action. But boy, did he hit it out. With David Marquez on the art, who you might remember from the fantastic art in Civil War 2, he's drawing this Defenders, and this Defenders run is going to end at issue 8. and I don't think it's going to be continued after that. I don't believe, but I hope it is, but I doubt it. But it's Brian Michael Bendis at his best. It's at his best, and he's going out with a bang with this series at Marvel, and it's well worth picking up. And get it in the trade, because it's going to be one of the most beautifully drawn and best stories that you'll read in a long time. All right, now the top 5. IDW Exo Man of War. Guys, this is fantastic. Exo Man of War, I've never read Exo Man of War before. I picked up issue 1. I mean, this is like cardboard covers, fantastic, $3.99 only. From issue 1 all the way to issue 8. Each issue is Exo Man of War on this, basically this planet, where he starts off as a soldier, and each issue is him being promoted. By the time we hit issue 9, he's already at issue 8, he's an emperor. He goes from soldier to emperor in 8 issues. And the journey he takes, fantastic adventure. He kicks ass. This is such a great series. This is, I can't sing enough praises about this. This is just an absolute joy. I've never done a video review of it, but I really should. And probably I will at some point, because it's deserving of it. It's that good. Wow. Postal, number 4. Postal is a fantastic series. I'm running out of adjectives. It's written by Matt Hawkins. Brian Hill, created by Matt Hawkins. Brian Hill is the writer. Isaac Goodhart's the artist. K. Michael Russell's the colorist. Postal is, imagine a small town that basically just consists of criminals, and the FBI sort of send their most wanted, or well, criminals can go there and hide out from the rest of the world, and the U.S. government sort of turns a blind eye to them, and it's run by this woman who's got a son who's got Asperger's. That's the guy right there, and so he's on the autism spectrum, and boy, he's super intelligent, and the crazy adventures they get in. This is like Breaking Bad, but imagine everybody on a cast like Breaking Bad being serial killers or crazy people, or just criminals, everyone being a criminal. That's what Postal is, and it's so well written, so entertaining. I think it's at issue 24 now. Pick it up, and in fact it's continuing now into it. It's called it's even going on to into another series, starting over at number 1. Pick it up, Postal, guys. All right, number 3, top 3. Number 3, Superman. I know it might be a little bit cliche, but Superman Reborn, it was really good. Taking Superman back to his roots, but having him married, continuing the married Lois Lane storyline, their adventures with their son Jonathan Kent. They're an all-American family. It's showing the love between Clark and Lois, and the love between them and their son, and the adventures that he's going to, leading into meeting his father Jor-El, into that storyline, leading into the Doomsday Clock and the effect that the Watchmen universe will have on this universe, and the inevitable meeting between Dr. Manhattan and Superman, which will take place in Doomsday Clock. That doesn't happen in Superman, but you learn more about Dr. Oz, and you discover that he's Jor-El, because Dr. Manhattan saved Jor-El and is using Jor-El for some nefarious purpose, which has been revealed in Superman. So much adventure, so much fun, while at the same time, family adventures. A great series. Superman has been a great series for 2017. Now, the final 2, the top 2, I mean, is no surprise. My number 2, coming in at number 2, is Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle, what more can I say? I've done reviews on this. Tom King's hit it out of the park. Tom King, I'm going to jump right into number 1. Tom King has written both Mr. Miracle, and my number 1 choice for the year is Batman. Batman Annual number 2, I think, is the best one-shot of the year by far, and because it's a Batman Annual, I'm including all of normal Batman issues as part of number 1 as well. You just can't beat Batman in the Batman Annual this year. Mr. Miracle is good, but it's not as good as Batman in the Batman Annuals, but it is really good. Is Mr. Miracle scot-free infected with the anti-life equation? We don't know, but boy, we're having a lot of fun to do it. The love story between Mr. Miracle and Big Barda. Juxtapose that against the love story in Batman Annual 2 between Selina Kyle and Bruce Wayne. Wow. Tom King is writing these emotional, heartfelt stories. He doesn't even need to do action-adventure. He can just focus on romance and relationships. Good job, Tom King. Guys, wow. Just a number. That's my top 35 list. Couple of things I didn't include on the list that I'm going to give a shout out to. I did not get around to mentioning Thor. Honorable mention goes to Thor for maybe 36 and 37 on my list would have been Jason Aaron's Thor, the Death of Thor storyline, starting off really exciting, and Greg Rucka's Old Guard. I'd already put 2 of Rucker's comic books with Lazarus and Wonder Woman on the list. I didn't want to. I should have. Old Guard. I loved it as well, but those didn't make my list. There's a whole other pile that didn't make my list as well that could have. But there you have it, guys. That's my top 35. So, guys, thanks for watching. It's been a great year, guys. Let's have some more fun. Let's keep having some live streams and some hangouts. And until next time, Comic Boom out.